Hello, it is Toffee TV. It is club call time.
Am I wasting my time with this?
Yeah, I did, John.
Yeah.
John's got his headphones all ready. If you want to give us a call, want to give us a call, the lines are open. If you want,
Yeah,
Ned
please do, because
Ned is there.
I've wasted my bloody time putting it in if you don't.
Ned is sitting there.
At least they're blue.
Ready to. Well, of course they're blue. I bought them. Ned is there, ready to accept your calls, and he looks more intelligent accepting your calls
It's
now.
really good if I could hear you now, but I can't. So.
No. So if you want to give us a call, please do.
Yes, please.
On anything. Last night's
good.
Last night's performance, 0-0. Everton need a striker. One thing I'm going to start with something that's not Everton, but it is football. I just want your opinion on it. I will come to you in a moment, John.
I'm excited now.
Yeah. It's about a certain chairman of another, an owner of another football club.
Joe Lewis.
Yeah, so you can give us a call on that. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, that story, it's weird, which normally means that there's something in it.
It's because if you were making something up, it wouldn't sound so weird.
Yeah, Dominic Calvert-Lewin to Roma, which is just a weird story. Let us know because we did a poll.
Do you know Jose Mourinho?
Yeah,
he's Jose.
Yeah,
not Jose.
Well, depends if you're his mate.
Because he's Portuguese. Jose's Spanish.
Yeah. It's four letters.
Okay, Petra. What were you talking about?
I mean, my name's whatever you want it to be. I don't care. Ned's gonna put another vote in about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The one at dinner time was like 49-51.
Oh, I missed it. What was it? Sorry.
Would you sell Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
Oh, I would have voted.
And we know 49-51 splits can change the world. So Ned's going to put that in.
The same one again?
If you want to. Yeah, because it might be a different audience. I'm just interested to see again whether, if anything's changed.
Was it 49 sell?
It was 49 sell, yeah. It was 49 sell. So I'd be interested. But, John, just before we move on, this Joe Lewis stuff's really interesting. I just wanted to get your view on it. So he's been done for inside trading.
Alleged.
Well, that's what he's getting. Yeah, that's what
he's been charged
with.
Yeah.
He's now give himself up. He said he hasn't done anything fair enough.
Said it was outrageous, didn't he?
Outrageous. Yeah. Each charge, apparently, he's got 20 years on it, and there's a few charges.
Insider trading's not very popular amongst the judiciary. They don't like it.
Yeah,
because it's fraud at the end of the day, isn't it?
It's rich people making other people rich. Basically, isn't it?
Might be making.
Well,
some people unrich.
Anyone rich.
Well, if you got insight someone else hasn't got, and you've got a dodgy route, then it gives you an advantage, doesn't it? So that must disadvantage somebody else.
Yeah.
But anyway, your question is.
No, my question is, what are your thoughts on it? Because obviously, as a football club, we've gone through a few media trials and tribulations and everything else over the last year, 18 months, 2 years. So, I mean, what do you think that could do for the reputation of Spurs? Because his family trust owns Spurs. I don't think it's his in name alone, but his family trust. Do you think this could have any ramifications for Tottenham?
He appears on Company's House as someone who owns the football, has control of the football club. We know he has control because we're not talking just a few days ago how he was basically telling Levy, you've either got to get this guy to sign a contract or sell him, when he's referring to Mr. Kane. It sounds like he's listened to him and he's selling him, but sure. But the fit and proper owners and directors test will come into play, won't it? And one assumes, let's just make it questionable. It's questionable if he was found guilty whether he would pass such a test, wouldn't it? Therefore, he couldn't be the owner. Therefore, and so on. I mean, if you've wrapped it up in a trust, which presumably is as much for tax and other purposes as anything else, but it's. Does he control the trust? But it's a bit like we've talked in the past about Farhad being not on the board and sitting in the sidelines, but as fundamentally a shadow director telling people what to do. Yeah, and that's what Mr. Lewis has done recently, isn't it? So it won't be good it will give some uncertainty around Tottenham and nothing else, because you might anticipate a change of ownership could be in the offing if he got found guilty. But it's still alleged, isn't it? Yeah. It's alleged in the sense but he has been charged, which is a bit more than just you saying I think he's a dodgy character.
No.
You know what I mean? So, it's not good. Not good. Imagine if it was us.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Imagine if that was the charge being levied against Farhad Mashiri. I think it would have been everywhere on every minute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So perhaps because he's quite a shadowy figure in his own right, as people with that wealth are, in the background. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. Lewis Warrington has joined Plymouth on a season-long loan.
Yeah.
He played last night. Yeah, he's joined on a season-long loan. He played last night. I still think he's got. I still think he's got a little bit. Well, I still think he's actually got a long way to go. To be honest, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I still think 20. Obviously, he was on loan last year at Fleetwood.
Where's he gone now?
He's gone to Plymouth, which is a really good place for him. I think
League One.
Stephen Schumacher.
Is that League One? It's in the Championship.
He moved up to the Championship, didn't he? So I think that's a really good place for him to be. Good
coach.
Yeah. Stephen Schumacher, I think he's got a big future ahead of him. So obviously played last night, and as I said, he did okay. He didn't stand out or anything, but that's I think that would be a good place for him after having played at Tranmere and having played at Fleetwood. So he is.
If you did a quick make it, not make it, what would you say?
Right now, I'd say he won't make it.
Ditto.
I just don't think
so. Something has to click on one of these loans, doesn't it? Or he's going to find his level.
Yeah, I just don't think at the moment he's physically anywhere near good enough to. One of the main issues with a lot of these under-21s players that I noticed last night was they play in the under-21s. Anyone's ever watched 21s? There's hardly any contact.
It's a bit anemic, isn't it?
So a lot of the time, players are allowed to do what they want. And I thought last night there was a few walking around thinking like they could do what they want, and the next minute there's a big shoulder coming over to them and the ball's gone.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing they have to get used to. I think playing League One, obviously Championship, is a great place to learn that, but it has to be some. So I think I was saying this yesterday. It's like you've got to stand out in that league as well for Everton to go. Oh, he'll we need him.
Yeah, you can't go into particularly League One, but perhaps the Championship as well, and just be someone who gets some minutes every now and again, because the leap back to Premier League is so big. I mean, that's why it'd be interesting to see how Ellis does in the Championship for with a full season. He might score goals, but he never really did anything in the Premier League, did he? Notwithstanding, he didn't get a huge amount of opportunity, but that's probably because, as we were talking, I think it was yesterday, you get in and around the first team squad and stuff, and you have to stand out in those moments as well to catch the manager's attention. So it's a hard world, but they can all make good livings,
Yeah,
compared to the rest of us, they can earn lots of money in the Championship and have good careers, financially, if nothing else. So.
And ultimately, we've seen so many players pass through the doors at Everton that there's a moment when you think, yeah, they could be all right, or you need that player because of everything going on. But that's not always, Everton are in a bad moment at the moment. It doesn't mean that you're going to throw all these players to the first team. It's not going to make things better. We all want a centre forward. Watch Dobbin last night. He's not the answer right now. There'll be a lot of people wishing and hoping, like we did with Sims. Just give them an opportunity, give them a chance, and it's like they get a chance every day in training, and they get a chance when they go on loan. If they're not doing it, and the manager lives and dies by those decisions as well.
That's why they naturally have a shorter term view of the world. I mean, mate, who's a season ticket holder at Derby County, says Dobbin, very inconsistent, very, but some days they watch him and they love him to death because he's got pace to burn and very direct and stuff like that, all exciting things.
Yeah.
But then another day they don't even know he's on the pitch. Yeah. And, we've had players like that. You could say Luckman was like that. Look at him now. Sometimes it takes years before they suddenly mature and realise, whatever it is they realise. And you suddenly think he's 25, 26 and, why wasn't he like that when he was with us? Well, because he wasn't 25, 26.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? There's a lot in that. You could say that about, you mentioned Luckman, Delafeu's the same. Hot,
another good example.
Blue, hot and cold, and then has gone to Udinese and suddenly found, I think he's 29 now. So it's
that old.
Yeah. You forget, don't you? Because you keep them frozen the time that they were when they were with us.
Extraordinary.
Lukaku's 30, John.
Well, I know that one. Yeah.
No, but it's they're like locked, aren't they? In that time they were with you, and you expect them just to be that age all their lives. And big thing about young players.
Luckman's 26 in October.
Yeah. A big thing about young players is it's the you need to have that maturity as well. It's what makes the best them the best players.
And they have to go through the horrible times of, failing. Toffee moved and failed. Lookman moved and failed, didn't he? Thought he cracked it in Germany, and didn't happen, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, and, when his pace starts going, he'll have to, use that experience and play somewhere else in midfield or something.
Yeah. You've got to have that base level, haven't you? You've got to have that base level.
Come on, guys! I want to use these fancy headphones. Thingies earbuds.
And Dobbin last night, I think he got a couple of opportunities. One maybe not fell for him, but I think he got at least one-on-one. They're the games, aren't they? Where if you want to convince a manager,
if his plot said, they go, well, he didn't do much, but he got one chance and scored. Yeah.
You've got to have. You've got to take those opportunities. What disappointed me last night about Iwobi as well, he had a couple of brilliant opportunities. I just thought they're the ones that if you put them in, everyone goes, oh, he's the when you miss them, you think, has anything changed?
Well, what's not changed so far is we haven't got the players in we need yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all be patient, but don't want to be anywhere near this place, do you?
No.
At the end of August, we haven't got in what we need.
Just on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I mean, this was what we were talking about at dinner time. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we'd all probably straight away, a lot of us would say, no, we don't want to sell Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Mm-hmm. But he's still injured. He's not kicked the ball yet. Pre-season, 3 games. Mm-hmm. We don't know when he's back. We don't know what condition he's in again. If a serious bid did come in for him, would you have to consider it, or are we still hanging on to the hope of he'll get back to what he was? I think it's a tough one.
It is a tough one, and there are people out there who say they can fix him, and that the things that have been done so far, up to and including going to Germany, wasn't the answer.
Yeah.
Well, if those medics, physio types who think they can fix him, convince someone like Jose, that actually we can, then he'd be an absolute bargain at the alleged money, wouldn't he? Yeah. But the thing about next summer, I mean, is that really asking Everton to gamble that he won't play many games for us this season, so someone else can pay for him to sit in their treatment room?
Yeah.
But then he'd have a year to go then, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
So next summer would be give him a new contract or watch him run it down. So difficult times, difficult decisions. I mean, the trick, I suppose, if you're really horrible about it, is that you hope he gets fit, scores goals, and these interests reappear, but at a higher number.
Yeah. The way I looked at it was,
because I think the risk, the way we are, I think you're a fragile player, and we've just done it with Mina in some respects, haven't we? You let them go. You let them go.
I think we need to bring someone in who is ahead of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Someone who you can, almost like that Tarkowski figure, where you're going to get 30,
the regular
33 games out of.
The consistency.
And then you can look at Dom and go, we can take a risk on him being in and around then. There's not as much, we can maybe get him back without rushing him, and we get more games out of him that way.
Yeah.
And that takes the pressure off everyone. And we have to do that whether there's a good bid for him or there isn't a good bid for him.
I agree, mate. Yeah.
We sat here 12 months ago, just over 12 months ago, when he got the injury, and I think a lot of people decided right then that Dom, we couldn't go on putting all our hopes and dreams, because it was don't forget the season before, it was Dom will be back. Even someone who used to work for the football club said the second half of the season will be better because Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be back. He never got back. Never got back to his level.
I was sat with where you are right now doing this, as you say, around a year ago with Baz, and basically said we have to do our transfer deal on an assumption he isn't going to be available. Period. Which is sort of what you've just said, plan not to have him.
Yeah.
And then if you do get him, he can play a game, he can have a rest, he can come on as a sub and so on, and slowly, because the psychological challenges he's having must be big as well, around, will I break down again, favouring things because you're scared of not going for, you know what I mean? The whole 9 yards, really. Therefore, we need 2 players, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of whom is going to be potentially, the way you want it, better than DCL.
Well, I don't. I'll
or
be
the
honest.
starter ahead of him.
Yeah, I don't think it's better, John, because I personally believe Dominic Calvert-Lewin's a very good player.
I do as well.
What I saw when he come back from his injury, the performances against Leicester and certainly against Brighton, showed me that it's a natural talent and a natural nous around the pitch. People may disagree. People might say he's a one season wonder.
No, I don't think he is. Yeah.
I think sometimes you can put all the numbers together and go, well, he played 17 games last season, only scored one game in open play. But a lot of those, like the team wasn't scoring goals, weren't making chances. And when for me, the Brighton game was when he really got up to speed. And I thought he was devastating in that game. I thought he led the Brighton defenders a merry dance. I thought he was brilliant. It's hard to find that because we're struggling already to find anything near it. They just aren't. And I also think in the modern game, what he does is not something that I don't think a lot of people have his skill set of still being that big number 9, but it's got the agility.
He's mobile, isn't he?
To move around and occupy. But the problem, what has come with that, is that he's become very injury prone. Now, someone has mentioned in the comments there, is it him or is it the medical team? Well, we've had numerous medical teams look at him. He's gone over to Germany and to be looked at and assessed as well. Now, I'm sure he's still coming back from that. This is not a new injury. This is from what happened at the end of the season. So, for me, I don't think we can actually get better than Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but it's that trade-off, isn't it, of if you have someone who plays 20, let's say Dom plays 20 games against someone who might play all 38 games. The guy who plays all 38 games, where you can find a consistency with, you understand what he wants to play like, what his specialties are, might be better for someone like Sean Dyche than actually going, Dom's here for this game and not that game, and all those things that come with it.
It never works not knowing whether your players are available or not. I mean, look how we all felt whenever Mina come back. You know, black humour come out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Will it last 20 minutes or half an hour? You know, type of thing. And then we get to see him staying fit and realising, if you didn't already, how damn good he was and the big plus points he was to the team with his personality, the whole night, all that.
Yeah.
Right? But then you have to make a decision whether to give him a contract or not. And the club, I think, rightly said no. But we'll be there as Everton fans in 2 years' time saying, look at that, he's played 70 games in the last 2 years and he could have been doing it for us. Or we could be saying, look, he's broke down again. And we're not in a position to be able to afford to do that, to hope. But you've got to get players through the door. And I think the fear right now for fans would be that the half-full version is he is going to be ready, but unless he gets some minutes in the next 7 days, it's not going to be for the first league game, is it? And then as soon as the window, as you said yesterday, slams shut, you've got to go with what you got. And if we go with what we've got right now, we're going to be in the mire.
And the problem is as well is that we basically give up 5 games last season without a centre forward.
That's right.
We give them.
You might argue at least we've got Dan Juma this year who can play. Down the middle.
And it will only be, I think it's 3, isn't it, before the window slams shut. I think it's 4 games before the international break, but it's only 3 before the window.
And then there's 2 more weeks then, isn't there, with the break in September.
But we have to get like a couple in, and obviously Bill Altore obviously looks like he's going to Atalanta, so that one's. But I'm sure there are other targets in the Acho. He's certainly one that is probably been seen as a backup if we can't get him, and he is more of an out and out centre forward in more of our style. Now, I'd be interested.
Defo in our style, because he doesn't score many goals, does he? Yeah.
Well, I'd be interested. The interesting thing about him is why hasn't he played more times? Is it just because Leicester have got Jamie Vardy and he's a goal scorer? They obviously brought Daka in, who obviously was a big signing for them. Is it because his goal to minutes?
The minutes stat is good, isn't it? Well, good. It's 1 in 2.5 or something.
It's a lot better than his goals per game.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. So it's
which means a lot of his appearances were subs and
off the bench. Yeah. And he always seems to score against us as well. That's always that thing, isn't it? You get to see them more because they're scoring goals against you. So it might be a case. That's why St. Maxim seems so good, because he always seems to have a good game against us. But it's something Everton have really got to. I mean, it's not like they're not trying. But the funny thing is we sat here last summer and we saw Dom all pre-season, and we saw him in the last pre-season game, and he, you know, I think he scored in the last pre-season game, and it was just a couple of days later. It was like he's out. You know, Baz famously went and done the overlap and told them if we can keep Dom fit, and then walked out the building to find out that he was out for 12 weeks or whatever it was. So Everton have just got to avoid that. I think this season they've got to avoid that getting into that mess of waiting, because I know, for one thing, Dyche obviously hated it. He hated answering those questions every single week.
It got a bit touchy, didn't it?
Oh, it did, absolutely. Because that's the way he does things. You know, last night he never did anything for the media after the Bolton game, and that's again probably because he doesn't want to answer questions. He doesn't want to answer where Dom is. He doesn't want to answer what's going on with Bill Torre. He doesn't want to answer who else is coming in. He wants to just get on with it and do it. And I understand that and I respect that. But again, it's that thing of like, where are these people? Where are they? You know. But
well, the Brighton manager shows how easy it is to deal with the media. You know, I don't do player trading. I just coach what I've got. You know.
Maybe that's the way to go for him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
well, if you've got a director of football, that's the easiest answer for the manager, isn't it? Yeah. And do your talking behind the scenes, Sean? You know, influence the director of football about what you know you want and need, and so on, and make him earn his money. Yeah. Well,
apparently there is an interview somewhere. It might be past its sell-by date now.
3 weeks now.
Apparently so. So you listen. It depends who you listen to. The interview's either been done and has got something in it that can't be said,
and it's impossible to cut it out.
I mean, listen.
Yeah,
we did this is a club that did an interview with the owner. That seemed like the fellow who was interviewing was in a completely different place, but he wasn't.
Well, so, at least that demonstrated that he could do editing.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I feel sorry for some of the guys over there, anyway. The media guys, I mean, because they produce the content and never get seen.
No, it's no criticism of them whatsoever. Yeah. No criticism of anyone who works in the trenches. Yeah. They're just doing their job like everybody else, isn't it? It's the people higher up who make the decisions. So no criticism at all. They're all good people over there. So, because we know they watch. Let's get into some of the comments.
You were talking to them yesterday, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. I was just having a chat about some certain things. One of the things I actually said was
this last night.
Yeah, well, it wasn't without. This is not anything, not like a shattering thing. But I think I'd said on a couple of videos that I'd seen the lads in the media team wearing all the new gear. I thought, oh, that's dead nice. And I was like, oh, you've got the new gear. And he went, this is 2 years old. Yeah. Yeah, I went, sorry for putting that lie out then, that you're having to wear gear from 2 years ago because you can't get any of the training gear or any of the stuff. What is going on with this football club? You can't buy training gear and the staff are not even getting it. What's going on?
Yeah.
What is
clearly not very good at supply management, are we?
That's mad, isn't it? So, that's mad.
Who would be accountable for that?
I don't know who would be accountable, John, but
Richard, I guess.
Would he?
Well, commercial, isn't he? Chief commercial and
have a chat with Richard.
Yeah.
Have a chat with Richard, see what he comes back with.
Yeah.
Let's get into the comments. Gary Waters, Hardy, David Green, Danny Ings would score goals.
He would,
but he only went to West Ham in January. Why would they want to sell? They did buy him. They bought him for 15 million quid, didn't they? So
I think so. Yeah.
So why would they?
Yeah. Antonio's going, isn't he? How's he gone? So that makes it even
less. He's been in talks with Saudi.
That means it's even less likely Ings would go, wouldn't he? You
know. Georgie Redden says, wonder now we've missed out on Bilal. What offer Leeds would want for Nonto?
Different players.
Talk 20 million quid, isn't it? But again, not a striker, is he? He's not a striker who's going to score. Who's that player that you look at every week and go, he'll do a job for us leading the line. Everton Viking says mozzarella sticks have more strength in them than Danny Ings' legs. Swerve panic buying injury-prone agent strikers. It depends, you know. If you put mozzarella sticks in the air fryer and just leave the air fryer on, like Paige does, then you probably the strength would be strong, I think. Stan Smith, Warrington has gone to Plymouth. That has been announced.
Cool.
That was announced at 5 o'clock. Degsy says, hi, lads, keep me entertained. We'll try, Degs. We will try. DP says, Ped, that game last night showed how good Nonto actually is for his age. He's younger than most of them under-21s, and he's completely different level, physically and technically. People championing Stanley Mills, he couldn't compete with League One players. None of them could physically get past them. It was like men versus boys. Nonto would be a very good signing. There's a very high ceiling. Look at him, and then look at Lewis Dobbin. He's a year younger as well. Already capped at Italy. He might be small, but he's very fast, physically strong. And also Onana is only a year younger than Onyongo. They are the same height. Yeah. Onana is on a different planet to him. People don't even think Onana's fully ready yet. For me, there's only one player out of the under-21s who would make it at this level, and he's just gone to Chelsea. I was having a conversation with the ex-player last night as well, and he said something similar, because having watched the under-21s on Saturday against Samir. No, there isn't anyone in the under-21s who's ready. No. It's just they're the fact, and that's not having a go at the player. That's not having a go at Everton. That's not having a go at anyone. They're just facts, aren't they? They're just facts. There's no one quite ready yet for to go into the first team. I don't think so.
But you have to make objective decisions. If they're a certain age and they haven't got to a certain stage, then you execute plan B, which is get some money for them.
Yeah, which is what, sadly, I mean, we have got money in for one.
Yeah.
And he was the best one, but that's why someone was willing to pay money for him.
Absolutely. And that's where the loans are their opportunity to shine. Either to come back to the host club or to play themselves into a decent contract somewhere else.
Because ultimately it's on them, isn't it? Ultimately it's on them. It's their careers. It's them who control their career. It's them who have to improve. It's not the clubs want them to improve. The club want them to be better, and the club mightn't have given them all the tools. I appreciate that, but it's still on those players, isn't it? It's still on those players to get better. And as you said before, Dobbin had a chance. Maybe Dobbin impressed on Saturday and got himself in that first team last night because of what he did in the under-21s on Saturday. He's given an opportunity. And the manager, maybe, and that's why the manager was there, isn't to say,
I'm watching.
He already knew that players were going to be subbed or at half-time or whatever, or knew that maybe wanted to leave out the likes of Garner because of the physical attributes of the time of the year and stuff like that. I thought I need to give one of these a chance. So,
which you did.
Yeah, there you go. Ned's going to press a button now, aren't you, Ned? Thanks, Ned.
What button's he going to press?
So people are always asking, what is Toffee TV Premier? Toffee TV Premier is our subscription service that costs less than a cup of coffee a month. For that, during the season, you get daily live exclusive shows just for you, where you can come and join us and have a good laugh. Normally twice a day. That's how good it is. We have a great community over there as well. We have an exclusive Discord for you all to go and join, have a chat, talk during the games or whenever you want about anything going on at Everton and away from Everton as well, which sounds good as well. We've got an exclusive WhatsApp group as well. You can put all your instant thoughts, ideas, send us over some videos as well for shows. So we have that as well. We do other shows during the week that are exclusive to Toffee TV Premier as well, including the extended version of The Final Word, obviously after every single game. It's also the place where you can find all the Toffee TV shows and all the shows from our second channel, More Than a Game. They're all on there as well. So you don't even have to go on YouTube. You can just go over to Toffee TV Premier and have all the shows ready for you. Another bonus is all the shows go out as podcasts as well. Whether they're our YouTube shows or whether they are our Toffee TV Premier shows, they all go out on the platform as well. You can find them all in one place exclusively. We also have a link which you can put into any podcast player that you use, so you can hear all the exclusive shows as well, all in one place. It's a great community, lots of really good people there. There's no bickering. There's certainly lots of discussion, and why don't you come over and join us on Toffee TV Premier? The link is in the description. Come and check it out for the price of less than a coffee, certainly less than a pint for 1 month. Come and check it out. You also get 25% off all our merchandise as well over in our shop, including one of our new t-shirts. So for the discount alone on a t-shirt is going to pay for 1 month. So make sure you check out Toffee TV Premier now. So what about this one then, John? Everton fans are less optimistic than Newcastle under Mike Ashley. According to the Sky Bet Fan Hope Survey, Everton fans are even less optimistic than Newcastle fans were in the darkest days of Mike Ashley's ownership. They scored an average of 3.3 out of 10, which is the lowest figure for optimism in 4 years of the Hope Survey.
That's like the lowest anyone's ever done.
Yeah.
That's a bit heavy, isn't it?
Well, it is when you mention like Mike Ashley.
And their darkest days was presumably in the goddamn championship, wasn't it?
Yeah,
as well?
yeah.
Wow. We're not an optimistic bunch then,
No.
are we? Oh dear, yeah. I'm not surprised, are you? Really?
No, but what I would say
when
is,
was the survey done? Do we know roughly in the last?
Will it be it'd be
quite
back
recently.
end of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after 2 years of horrendous,
Mm.
on and off the field and changes in board members, probably want the owner changed as well, do they?
Yeah, well, there's other other stuff in the survey. Fans slammed the club's recruitment, scored a 2.2 out of 10. Only 5% thought the club had any chance of winning a trophy. I think 5% is quite optimistic, if I'm honest with you. And 91% wanted a takeover, the most in a league.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. If you went through those one at a time, then the recruitment has been awful. Yeah, I mean, last week or so it's got a little bit better, but even so, and missing players in the January window who were in the house and all that sort of stuff. The ownership thing is, of course, the owner has been interfering in the past, and I'm not surprised that people say, let's have someone new, and we've got investment that's drifting, isn't it? So
the thing with like the comparisons to Mike Ashley, though,
that's damning.
That's damning because from someone obviously.
It's damning for Mike Ashley because he actually left them in a well-run state.
No,
didn't he?
that's what I'm saying. From the outside looking in at the time, Mike Ashley's time at Newcastle was horrendous. Yeah. He obviously was never prepared to spend. He looked quite smug. He obviously clung on to the club. He obviously sold it to people who've done all right with it and have got them into the Champions League. But as to say that it's lower, I mean, that shows you where we've been as a fan base for the last couple of years. And
it does. But it's expectation based, isn't it? I mean, Ashley, I suppose, held his nerve as a businessman of not spending beyond their means, and our owner has spent a huge sum of money and made us worse. And so that chain's got to be pulled at some stage, hasn't it? So he's in the background now trying to get the investment and hopefully leaving the manager and the director of football to actually do the business on the playing side.
How much of that as well, though? Do you think there's loads, a lot of that is because of last summer as well? Because I think last summer, maybe before the pre-season, there was a lot more general fans who had a bit more optimism because they thought Frank Lampard was going to take us forward. True. He was all with the club scene together. There was all the bus welcomes, a blue pyro and all this. And people thought, we're going to head into a different direction. Never again, like you just said there. And then after a couple of pre-season games, that slowly started to be eroded because the first couple of pre-season games in America were really bad. We didn't bring in the players. We never brought a forward into, I think, the 6th game. Dom got injured. The season progressively got worse and worse, and we ended up with a situation where obviously last game of the season we had to win. So it was that. I imagine a lot of that was, well, hang on, last summer you basically fooled us, you tricked us, and that adds into it.
I'm not sure they did fool us, but the end of
fooled.
Yeah, the end of the season going into pre-season, we'll call it. There was far more optimism than has been now. I remember you and Baz sitting on the bench, the man, in the dugout at Minnesota. Going, we need goals, and everyone knew we needed goals, and nothing happened. And I think the relationship then and the inability of the football club to control the narrative because it got away from them just meant it got worse and worse and worse. So those numbers, actually, the 5% of the eternal optimists, if they think we stood any chance, of winning something. And maybe we spoke on the sofa, didn't we? Not so long ago, towards the end of the season. Not sure if we've hit rock bottom yet. Maybe this survey, was it Sky Bet, yeah? Maybe Sky Bet survey showing that we actually did get to rock bottom, and hopefully the only way is up.
Yeah, maybe we have bounced off the cement and we're on our way back up just by the sheer force of it.
Well, there's nowhere further down to go.
Yeah, it's interesting. 91%. I mean, that's hugely high. Want to take over, which is obviously the most in the league.
That's because the owner is seen as being interfering.
We are though. Again, we've, without repeating ourselves, said this a million times. We are in it's such a unique situation to other football clubs, aren't we? Some football clubs maybe don't like one aspect of their team, or don't like the manager, or we're just in a unique thing where there's been so many things piled together that the only way, I think, for a lot of people, because for a lot of people, they'll go, need to just change the manager, or need to change the director of football.
We tried the manager change.
Or if we could just get a new centre forward, or it's that problem in the team. But for us, it really does feel like, for a lot of people, if this fella just sold up and we got more, new owners with different new ideas, then that could propel us, because actually there's the football club going into a new stadium and all those other things, that the fan base is so strong. It just takes that thing, and that is the big. But the problem is, that's the biggest thing.
Well, it is, and what this Sky Bet thing's showing is it's an accumulation over the years, isn't it? Because Farhad Moshiri's been in control for so long now. Quite a long time. He's gone through. Lost count of managers. Is it 7? I don't bloody know. Right. Yeah. Multiple managers, multiple directors of football. Therefore, even if you get those things right, the fan base still think that in the background, the owner or the board members will interfere with the sporting side. And so the only way out for the owner to avoid that 91% being happening again next season is to let the sporting people get on with it. Yeah. And not interfere.
Off the back of this survey, what we can say is, though, 3 members of the board have left the football club, and there could be MSP, investment,
and the chair will go.
And the chair will go.
He will go.
And so what you would say is that some of these things are being addressed. Hopefully, if Everton can get a couple more players into the door to satisfy the recruitment as well, that might help that one for the next time this survey's done. And I'm not saying they've listened, but some of these things could be getting addressed. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I would expect a big bounce on those numbers, because you can't imagine them getting. I mean, the only thing you could do is get 100%, isn't
it? I mean, if they get any lower, we're in trouble.
Extraordinary.
You can read all about the other findings of the 2023 Sky Bet Fan Hope Survey. Add your voice to the debate and share your season predictions on the Sky Bet Fan Central. The link is in the description below, and give us all your thoughts in the comments as well. Make sure to head over to toffeetvefc.com/shop for all our latest designs. You can get them in t-shirts, get them in hoodies. You can even get them in mugs. Don't forget, if you're a Toffee TV Premier member, you get 25% off your orders. So why not go over, join Toffee TV Premier, and buy some merch today. There you go. Join.
Wonder if everyone else has had chocolate.
Don't give the secrets away, John, even though you're wearing a pink t-shirt and not a yellow t-shirt, and I'm wearing a blue t-shirt instead of a yellow t-shirt. What? I got changed during the advert to show the different kinds of t-shirts. That's what I'm saying. I got changed. John got changed because he seen me getting changed. I thought he wanted to get changed.
Comparing bodies, right?
Don't forget, if you want to call in, you can call in. John's got his headphones. He's ready.
I took them out ages ago.
But he's got them. He's ready to. Ready to listen to your concerns. David Green says the hot walker's going to Bramley-Moore Dock is outstanding news. Yeah, just seen that. Apparently, they're putting a hotel up a little bit down to a little bit northwards. You can still see the ground, right by the ground.
The pub to your left.
And there's going to be a hotel and a takeaway. The hot walk. That's outstanding. It's outstanding. It's outstanding. We do know that the Winslow have looked at properties.
They're looking at sites, yeah.
But it's very expensive, isn't it, down there? And it's very expensive for what it is as well. Very expensive because a lot of these places are garages, which don't have the facilities.
Like warehouses, yeah.
Because it would be nice for a couple of them to get down there, have that little bit of a local. You want the old and the new, don't you? A little bit.
Yeah, you do. I think the Winslow would be nice. bit late now to move it brick by brick, isn't it? But a replica. Maybe there'll be one inside the wall. Oh, when they develop the fan zone, that'll be good.
I think they'd already know that, wouldn't they?
You would
What's
think
the
so.
pump house going to be, John? Come on, you're
Museum,
a man.
isn't it?
You're a man who knows things.
Museum.
See, I got told it. Well, I heard it was going to be a bar, not like a bar, basically.
Well, a rumour came out like that a few weeks ago, didn't it? And then it got rushed
I don't think
almost a day or so later, saying no, it's going to be a museum and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's not particularly big, is it?
No, it's not. It's not particularly big, and that's what led me to think it wouldn't be a museum as such, unless it was like a small museum about the history of the site, maybe rather than Everton. But I have to wait and see. It's
spent a fair amount, refurbing it, making it look good.
Yeah. But the stadium itself is looking brilliant.
Well, as the terraces go in now, people are seeing, and they can start. Well, I have anyway. We can start imagining how intimidating it's going to be, because they are steep.
No, it looks fantastic, and obviously they've done the
cantilever's gone up on the
east stand
done today, yeah,
and they're going to start doing the roof now on the east stand. The west stand's done, except it's still got to have like the roof's got like tips on the end of it,
yeah.
So it's got the tips to put on. The seating in the north stand terracing is going in.
Have to get Steve and Baz in again, won't we?
Yeah, Steve and Baz obviously do.
What's up, me guys?
Baz is doing the video,
sort it out. Yeah.
But I have to say though, Mr. Drone has just bought an absolutely unbelievable piece of kit, and the zoom is something like 28 times, and it's honest to God, he could get a video of a worker picking the nose. Honestly, that's how good the zoom is, and Barry's videos are good because he always gets really...
There's a book coming here, Baz.
No, he always gets really, really close. And I really like his videos for that. And Mr. Drone stays...
A distance.
He stays his distance because he's playing by the rules that Everton set him, and that's fair enough. No
I think
argument
Baz
with that.
plays by the rules. Maybe Baz is just a better pilot.
Oh, maybe they need a pilot off. Maybe they need like a race round. But I'm just saying... Because, and I'm not...
They should have a complimentary thing where Baz films Mr. Drone doing his stuff, so we see what the drones look like then.
Baz is very much...
And vice versa.
He's very much doing Everton Stadium, and fair play to him.
The other guy does other stuff.
Mr. Drone does other stuff as well, and I mean, his name's Mr. Drone. It was like he was born to do this.
The drone pilot.
Was he christened? Yeah, that's his real name, Ned.
David Robert Drone is his name.
It is, honestly.
Look it up. Look it up on LinkedIn, you'll see. Well, all
right, that's fine, Ned. That's fine.
You never validate, then.
But he's obviously
he's done that.
He's obviously
Lego stand. And
he's
stuff,
obviously ploughed all the Lego stand money into a new drone, which is good.
Is it bigger or just it's the zoom?
I have no idea. I'm not a drone expert. I mean,
Baz, when you come in, you need to know all these latest.
But I know that it does
things.
zoom in brilliantly. So
how do you know that?
Because I've watched the videos.
Well, he says it's 28 times.
Look and see it. Because it goes, honestly, you could...
So you can tell the zoom on the camera just by seeing it?
I'm an expert, son. I do this for a living.
Why is this out of focus,
I've been doing this for 10 years, because that's Ned's job. I tell him when I'm on camera to just to smear a little bit of grease on it. No, he says it's 28 times.
Okay.
It is brilliant, to be fair to him. He has... I do like the idea. I do like that there's some people out there doing this. All of them.
I mean, Baz has done it every week.
No, I know.
I mean,
you're trying to make some kind of...
No.
I watch all the videos because
I'm just saying, supporting what you said, they're doing it.
Yeah, I appreciate...
Discipline, they're doing it every week.
I appreciate that. And obviously, Mr. Drone took the money, the Liverpool money, and invested it in a nice
fancy new
camera
thing
to put on Everton. So fair play to him. That I like someone who goes out there and reinvests the money and does it, and he gets up at silly times of the day. And Barry,
because when Everton started saying you can do it between this time and this time at like stupid o'clock on a Sunday, they still do it, don't they?
Yeah.
Well done, them too. Yeah. But anyway, Baz, WhatsApp me and let's get you on the sofa and we can see if yours is bigger than his or not. Yeah.
What are you laughing at? His name's Victor Van Drone. Yeah. Only certain people will get that joke.
Yeah.
Ned being obviously one of them.
Giggling past himself.
Did you come up with that or someone else come up with that? I don't believe you come up with that. I just don't believe it. On your Lizards Lives. You got a mic on there? Yeah. Okay. so people can hear the
drivel,
the things you say. No, because we were talking about the ground, and Dave from the Winslow. He did a podcast with another set of lads across the park.
Guys. Yeah,
go and check that out.
It's good.
But one of the things he was saying to us, obviously, the expense of it all, and they are trying the lad people who were obviously staying behind the Brick and the Winslow, and
they're all got like a little.
They're all
group,
coming together as a group because obviously they want to stay in business, and obviously it is the traditional home of Everton Football Club, and they're going to do everything in their power. And I imagine they're going to there's talk of running buses and things like that from.
Yeah, that's what Dave. I spoke to him, and that's what he said. A bit like a park and ride almost.
Yeah,
yeah.
Which is not, it's a good idea because we're not all going to be able to get our own way down there and park down there, and so it is a good idea. A lot of people obviously still will live round by Walton and Kirkdale, and they can make their way down via
Black Horse is further away, but they'll have to do so, because all these places do, presumably most, if not the vast majority of their custom on match days. And if they can't stay sustainable because the match days have gone, then the local community won't be able to use them on a wet Tuesday afternoon when you think, let's go and have a bevy, because they won't be there anymore. So
yeah, and I can imagine after the game, because obviously, saying if it's like a 3 o'clock kickoff or even earlier after the game, people will want to go back, because we know we've been around there. We've been in Murphy's. We've had a good look round. There's not a lot round there at the moment. I think people have envisaged the new ground as having all these things ready for when the ground opens. I just don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be 5-10 years after the stadium that suddenly it all flourishes, because there's a lot of stuff around there that I think needs to be knocked down for new things to be built, rather than the things that are down there being renovated. I think you're gonna for a building to be costing a couple of £1 million, and then you have to put a couple of £1 million where there almost has to be a proof, doesn't it, that there's a need for those things.
Yeah. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Oh,
mate.
of course.
But I mean, if they start giving some planning approvals for stuff quite close to the stadium, that'll start.
Of course,
that's the classic book ending. It's sure, the stadium's going to be on the end of the row, if you will, but until people start building stuff going back towards town, then it'll still be a bit of an outlier, won't it?
Yeah.
But notwithstanding that, because people want stuff close to the ground, that's what, as you just said, you end up with factories or old warehouses or stuff which are pretty falling apartish, probably. Yeah. But the location, on the old location, makes them worth huge amounts of money and big windfalls that you can have. Yeah, of course. The timber yard's gone now, isn't it, I think?
Timber yard's gone,
and that went for a very healthy sum of money for its owner. Well done, him. But it's that sort of thing, isn't it? So the huge fan zone, though, is the opportunity for Everton to keep keep people inside the fence. It is. Or the wall, rather. Quite amusing, the wall keeping people in instead of keeping them out. Yeah.
It might need a roof, though. With the weather down there, it might need to do what Man City have done and put a roof on.
Yeah,
a fan zone.
Yeah,
might make
the big tenty type things. I like the Hajj terminal in Jeddah. It's all open, but it's.
I'll be honest, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's tremendous structure.
There you go.
Big canvassy type.
Yeah,
roofs.
maybe, but
roofs.
There's the thing about, like, certainly walking back towards town from the new stadium is
it's getting soaked, windy.
No, but but like any journey, if there's stuff
along the waterfront,
if there's stuff on the way to look at, it always makes the journey seem.
Yeah, you want like a few hundred yards and then a
That's
bar.
What I'm saying, but it always
makes, a bar.
It always makes things seem less far, don't they? If there's things to see on the way and you're walking past different places, so. To be honest, I'd just like to know when we're moving, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But, Steve P says, Ped, I do believe that Bill El Torre would have been a really good signing for us. I know he only scored 7 goals, but I do think his attributes are more suited to the Premier League. With money he would have cost us, he'd be potentially get Brian Brobby and Iniacho for around the same price. That would be a smart recruitment, as we'd have the potential of Brobby and the experience of Iniacho, and there wouldn't be as much pressure on the younger player, especially if we could get a similar fee for Mopai for what we paid for Iniacho, because that would be a clear upgrade. And then with the grey money, if he goes, we could use that on Nonto. That's going to be a big part of it, isn't it?
Nice summary of that, though, isn't it?
Player trading, yeah.
You know, that's dangerously sounds like a plan when you read it out. So well done, that man. Yeah, but that's the sort of wheeling and dealing that undoubtedly Thelwell and his team will have in their hands, because that's what you've got to do. But of course, you just need one of those to fall, and then you have to adapt. Yeah, and as I keep saying anyway, one thing we're not good at is decisiveness and decision making. I mean, often you can't even get a meeting with somebody without it taking 3 weeks, can you? So, you know, you just got to be able to know what you've got, know what you can do, and then be decisive, make decisions. Yeah. Oh, somebody called John.
We have got a caller. I should have been prepared for this.
Let's see.
Just on the poll at the moment, it is.
Glasses.
Would you let Dominic Calvert-Lewin go? 48% say yes, 52% say no. So it's very, very close once again.
But wider than it was at lunchtime.
Only by a percent or so.
Yeah. Within the margin of error, as they
We've
say.
got John on the line. John, are you there?
Hey.
Hello.
Boys, what's going on?
You okay?
How you doing today?
Yeah. Where you calling from?
Yeah. St. Louis.
St. Louis. Just to clarify for everyone, we're the big arch. Been to St. Louis, John?
No,
John's not been to St. Louis.
I'll put it on my list as of now. Yeah.
Well, you have to. Well, if nothing else, you need to come see the new our new MLS stadium, City Park. It's amazing.
Can I ask you a question about your MLS team?
You may.
When's another city going to come and take it off you?
Ooh. Oh, that's a little bit of a low blow.
Too soon?
Definitely too soon. Wait until we're not very good, and then they'll take it, because the two football teams left were not very good when they took it. So. But now, Kroenke will probably come in and put another one in LA somewhere.
Yeah,
so it's a good training ground for being an Evertonian, is it really? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, I'll give you my usual weather update today. So it's going to be about 38 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Fahrenheit today. So I'm just trying to stay cool.
It's raining here, and it hasn't stopped raining for about 3 weeks. So the rest of Europe, and I'm not even going to make fun of this, the rest of Europe is in a bad place with the heat, and we are in this little mini.
It's 59. Yeah,
we're in this little mini. We've got a little mini climate here, and it's just raining. We are.
So it's 59 Fahrenheit.
No, it's 50. It's 59 here.
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
Okay, it's cold.
Fahrenheit. Okay.
Yeah,
that's cold.
Yeah, that is cold. I would take that in a heartbeat.
It did peak at 61 earlier today, though.
All it's done is rain.
Well, get out the Speedos.
Yeah.
Tank tops, yeah.
Whoa! Tomorrow it could get nearly 70. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Heat wave. I would take that. My aircon hasn't been working, so I've got space. I've got those room sort of the portable ones and stuff. So it's basically I can keep it cool where I'm sitting, but the rest of the house is just ridiculous.
Do you know what we've got here, John? We've got Ped, who's I think sort of bilingual with temperatures, and Ned, who hasn't got a clue what we're talking about.
Honestly, I don't
15. It's 15.
I had to look it up.
Yeah.
I had to look up the 38 degrees. I did that right before. But listen. So I don't have a ton to say today. It's just I'm going to say something that's probably not going to be very popular with most Evertonians, but I'm actually pretty optimistic right now.
Okay.
I'll tell you why.
You do know Baz said something similar a couple of weeks ago, and he did have some caveats around it, but he still got ripped to bits. So
there's always caveats.
Yeah.
Right. John, I know you. I know you tend towards the positive. More
I try to be positive. Yeah.
A little bit more kindred spirits. But. And again, I could be totally wrong, so that's my caveat right there.
That's cool.
Anything I think about Everton is usually not right. But and I haven't voted the poll, but I will. But I'll just give you a verbal here. Definitely do not sell DCL, and that's part of the reason why I'm optimistic.
Okay.
I feel like we are due, because he never had a history of injuries before.
That's true.
Last year, 2 years ago, right? So it's not like he's been historically injury prone. So you can't really say he's made of glass, because really he was pretty much a thoroughbred for almost his entire career up until the year before. So, Ped, you said something interesting last week or the week before, that you thought he put on too much weight. Don't know if that's what it is, but hopefully...
muscle. Not. I didn't call him fat, by the way. I just
no weight.
Bigger. I thought he put on too. I thought he put on too much muscle for his body, which can happen.
So that is an interesting conversation about different sports, right? Because obviously American football players are much more heavily muscled than soccer players. And so like the theory, I remember it used to be that it wasn't good for you to lift weights if you played soccer or football, right? So I'm curious as to why that would be different than, say, rugby or American football. Don't know the answer, but it's just an interesting thing to think about. But hopefully he can get on track. And I'm not saying he can play 38 games, but hopefully if we can get him for 75% of the games, and you've said this multiple times, if we'd have had DCL for 75% of our fixtures last year, no way we would have been anywhere near the drop zone. No way.
True. Yeah.
So that's one. So that's a projection. That's a little bit of an optimistic projection, but I think we're due for some good luck on the injury front. Hopefully, do we have a new physio team with Dyche? Did we get a new physio team come in? Or is that still?
I think he would have brought.
He'd have had
some of them in. Yeah, there'll be people who've been at the club for a while, but
mainly because Benitez shipped most of them out. Didn't he?
He will have brought some people.
Hopefully, these guys know what they're doing, and we can get him, on a more regular basis. But Danjuma, who knows? But I feel pretty optimistic about that signing. And I was like everybody else when we signed Ashley Lung. I was like, really? But the more I think about it, and just haven't seen him play these first two, I think that he may end up being a sleeper signing for the year. I really do. I think, and the fact that he's versatile and can play in a number of different positions, as you guys have said, this is not original thought, fits really well with Dyche's philosophy of not bringing on a ton of subs. So he can, and it's funny, I was thinking about this because, like, back in the day, John's day, and maybe Pet, even when you first started, the title winning teams, we only had 2 subs. We're only allowed 2 subs.
That's true.
It was Kevin Richardson. Yeah, it was Kevin Richardson, and who was the other plug-and-play guy?
Alan Harper. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason those guys were great subs is because obviously they could play pretty much any position you put them in, and so no matter what, you could put a guy in to do a job. So I feel like he might be like the Kevin Richardson, but I think he might even be better than that. I think he might even be. I agree. I think he might end up being our starting left back, but like you said, it really just depends on if we want to play him higher up the pitch or whatnot. I don't know because, well, it remains to be seen if we get somebody on the right, a right winger as well. But I feel like, assuming we keep him, I think Onana is going to take a step up. I think last year was a sort of a transitional year from, League One to the Premier League, but I mean, he's obviously got all the tools in the toolbox, hopefully he can start to mature his game a little bit more. And gosh, I'm trying to think, who else have we signed? Anybody else? No, we don't know about Toure yet, right?
No.
Okay.
Well,
that would be amazing. That would be amazing. But even if we don't get him, I still think we're a little bit better off. But I still think we would need to want to go out and get another, maybe a little bit more like for like with DCL, more of a true.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
those are fairly rare though, so it's
those
are tough to get.
That's what
and everybody's looking for that, and so I don't think there's a ton of bargains, for the true big back to goal, striker who can score and also hold up play. Those guys tend to be expensive, so we may have to mix and match. But I don't know. Like I just feel like with I've always been a big fan of Branthwaite ever since we brought him in and saw him play originally. I just thought that you could just tell right away this kid's going to make it. So I'm very excited to see what he can do. Have another true left footer in the team, which we don't have a ton of, but we've got more than we used to with McNeil. So I think a little bit more balance. I do like Patterson. I don't know why everybody's kind of down on him. I think, obviously he's had a little bit of an injury issue, but if he can stay healthy, I think he's clearly a Premier League player. To what level we don't know yet, but he's always looked pretty good, I think. When Seamus comes back, Seamus, I thought he'd be done by now, but he comes back healthy, and I think we're in pretty good shape down there. So I don't know. I just tend to be more. I don't like being negative. I just don't always see the point in it. Not pie in the sky positivity, but let's look for the positives and let's hope for the best. And I was as despondent as anybody in the run-in last year, but I don't think.
So John, can you convert that into what you think would be a reasonable league position for us to finish in?
10th. 9th to 11th is what I would be targeting. We're not, my positivity doesn't extend to thinking, well, I think there's a chance that we could turn it around, because I do think that, and I know that you guys have talked about this before, really there is a pretty big hole in the middle of the table, right? I don't think the 3 teams that are coming up are very good. I wouldn't be surprised at all if all 3 of them went straight back down. And if not, I think there's other teams that are much more likely to drop in there than us. So there is a pretty big gap in there. And, I haven't done the analysis on the points and stuff like that, but Pat, I think you specifically had mentioned before, you look at the league position, it seems like a long way away, but from a point standpoint, there's a pretty big opportunity to move up fairly quickly. Brighton are going to be in Europe next year. Let's see how that affects them. And they've lost some players. So, maybe they take a step back. Brentford, again, they're going to be in Europe. So we'll see. Cause as you remember,
Brentford haven't got Ivan Toney for 6 months.
Exactly. So, as everybody knows, playing in the Europa League or the conference,
it's disruptive, really isn't it? Yeah.
It's disruptive. Look at West Ham. Would you have thought West Ham would be anywhere near the drop zone with 3 weeks to go?
It was worth it though, wasn't it? For them,
exactly. No, it was worth it, but that's imagine if they didn't.
Yeah,
imagine
the other
if they got
side,
to the final and lost, and they got relegated.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Imagine the flip of that coin, where they lose the final, lose Rice, and get relegated.
You're supposed to be the positive ones, though.
No, that's why it was good for them, because it came off.
But see, they were positive. They believed, and they believed in themselves, and they did it. So I don't know. I just think that there's a lot of opportunity there, and I do think that I would say I'm cautiously a fan of Dyche, but I need to get rid of this. First of all, I don't want to play tiki-taka, so that doesn't bother me at all. But I think I'm just a big believer that mentality and philosophy will overcome a lot over a longer period of time. Maybe not in one game necessarily, but over the course of a season. I do believe that, and again, he's not perfect. I was scratching my head a lot of his lineups and substitutions, but again, hopefully he's of a mentality that you never stop growing, no matter how old and experienced you are. You can always reinvent yourself. You can always be better. There's always things that you can do to improve. So, hopefully he will have learned, and if he gets more of his types of players in, I don't know. Those reasons may not ring true with anybody else but me, but I just feel like.
Oh, they do, John. They do.
I feel like we could be a surprise. I think that we've lowered expectations so much that the opposite. The term Everton. That usually we refer to that in a negative way, but the other side of that is we always do stuff when we're not supposed to. On the wonderful side. You
see, John. If we went through the season and Dyche delivered about the same points per game as he did when he came in and inherited someone else's squad and all those sorts of things. And if you had the manager in front of you and you said, well, you got your own pre-season, you're choosing the players you don't want, and some of them have gone already. You're influencing the players that come in, and we all believe, I think, that the squad that was there last season didn't perform to its potential.
Correct.
Put all that together, Sean. Surely you can deliver 10 more points for me.
Oh, I think we can do better than that.
That's what I mean. 10 more points, and that would have us solidly mid-table-ish, probably. But I think
keep in mind we were not that good at home last year, and that's
absolutely
usually not the case.
Yeah.
So if we just get back, if we revert to the mean, right, in terms of our home performance,
absolutely.
I haven't done the math on it, but what is if we take our average points at home over the last 5 years, right, before last year, and we revert back to that average or that mean, just that alone, where does that take us?
Exactly. The thing for me, the point I was going to try and make, I think, is it depends. If you said you're going to end up with 45 points, for example, we'd all know, wouldn't we, that that's safety, that's in the middle of the table. If you got those points in a very linear way, i.e. they arrive just with regularity, then that would be nice and solid and safe and none of us would worry. If we had a really rubbish start and then got some form and got the 45 points, we'd all be fraught at the beginning, right? If it went the other way round, we had a really good start and then hung in there, that would be a little bit fraught near the end, but you'd be safer sooner, right? The intangible though is, if you have a good start, you get something which you can't measure, which is confidence.
Exactly.
And players start playing closer and perhaps sometimes beyond their potential. And
with more freedom, and more relaxed.
And I watched there was a documentary on English TV last night. In fact, it might have been on Sky actually, so maybe it was wider. It was about when Liverpool and Notts Forest won the European Cup 4 years in a row, right? And obviously that meant that Brian Clough was getting interviewed, and he said his job was to get players to play to their potential. And guess what? Sometimes the way they would play was more than the potential you thought they had. And it's doing that. It's getting everybody as close to it as you can. And then refueling and re-energizing everything based on confidence. And if our fan base get behind a team that's confident and we're confident and we make them more confident, there you go. There's your half full version. Anything could happen.
Exactly.
Absolutely anything could happen.
The other thing I did mention, which is kind of like a wild card, is there is a world in which Dele Alli has sorted out his personal issues and comes back and plays a
lot of games
not at the level he was at, but anywhere close to that, and that would completely transfer. Now I don't know where if he's a Dyche type player. I don't know. What's going to be really interesting is Dyche is always favored a 4-4-2, but didn't really play it last year. Obviously, we couldn't because I don't think we had one striker, let alone two. But if we've got Danjuma, if DCL's healthy, and you've got Danjuma maybe playing as a second striker, or maybe we play, I don't know. Who knows what's going to go on with Blue? I'm not really hearing a lot about Iwobi being sold, so that's interesting. But, if we move Iwobi more central, into more of a number 10 role, I don't know. There's just a lot of unanswered questions in terms of, our personnel grouping, how he wants to play, and whether, I don't think he's married to a 4-4-2, but, if we did play a 4-4-2, does that then give opportunities to other players in the squad who fit that formation better than what we've been playing? There's just a lot of variables there in terms of, the way we're playing. But at last point, and then I'll let you go. But the whole confidence thing, I think, is when you get points matters. So
it does.
If you don't get them in the first part of the year, but you get them at the end of the year, as we have seems like we had done, up to the last couple of years, even the last couple of years. I mean, but like if you remember, like Koeman, we hit that hot streak in January and rode that out the second half of the year, and everybody went into the next year feeling great. Now it didn't end up, manifesting itself in the next season, but everybody felt really good, and so that's one thing. But I think in terms of the year, I think if we can overachieve a little bit at the beginning, the fans get behind, and I don't think there's that many fans that are completely against Dyche. I think there's two camps. I think there's he's the right man, or I don't mind him at all. You know what I mean? So I don't think I don't see as much of the negativity as we've had with some of our other managers in the past. So I think that's a good thing. But fans get behind you, the players start to believe. There starts to be increased competition to get in the team because everybody wants to be in a winning team, and I don't know that every footballer necessarily wants to get picked in a losing team and put themselves out there for that kind of abuse. So winning team, everybody wants to be in a winning team. Standards go up in training, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, that is your glass 3/4 full version.
John, let me just before I let you go, I'll just quantify everything you've just said in a very, very easy way.
Ooh.
Crystal Palace finished 11th. They won 3 more games than us. We lost three more games than they did. They scored 6 more goals than we did.
Yeah.
And they conceded 8 less goals than we did. That's the swing. Yeah. That's not and that's the team who finished 11th, comfortable in the end. I know they had a little bit of they sacked obviously the manager, but that is the swing you're talking about. It's not huge. That's 3 home games that we'd expect to win because our home record was terrible. If our home record was right up to the edge and we're doing everything we can do at home.
If we were maximizing that and still where we were, I'd be nervous.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like stock market trading, right? When you're looking for the gaps. In the sellers and the buyer, I just think there's a huge, and also I don't think anybody would legitimately look just from a talent standpoint, look at Crystal Palace and go, oh yeah, they're definitely better than Everton. That's
beaten Southampton, that's beaten Wolves, and that's beaten one other team.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
What was it? What was the one at home we were up winning and we gave up 2 goals in the second half? Was that Brentford, or what was that? Do you remember? It was a home game, then we were winning, and then we gave up 2 late goals in the second half, or three goals in the second half, or whatever. It fell apart very quickly.
Could be Leicester. Could be.
No, I'm thinking. Oh no! You know who it was? It was Villa.
Oh, Villa when it was 0-0.
0-0, and I think we just missed a great opportunity, and then and then just out of the blue they just scored boom boom. And it was just what just happened?
Yeah. Well, two of the relegated teams beat us at home. Yeah.
Well, and then there's the Forest game away where we were clearly the better team and didn't get the points. So this is. I mean, anybody, even the most negative person can go back to our schedule last year and find 6 points that we should have picked up. The flip side of that, you can always say, well, then you could also say we shouldn't have beat Arsenal. We shouldn't have got the late equalizer against Chelsea. There's always that.
No, there's always that, isn't there?
But point being is that I think momentum is real. We need Uncle Mo we need to sign Uncle Mo, put him in the squad, and I would just rather be optimistic and then deal with the disappointment rather than being negative and being proved right. I just would. So anyway, all right, great job as always, boys. Appreciate you.
Great call,
John.
right.
Take care, mate.
Take care. Cheers.
Good points. Yep. I like half full people.
There you go. Fair play. See, I like being negative to deal with not having to deal with the optimism that never comes.
Well,
I'm already prepared for it. So everything's a bonus, John. That's the way that's the way I think about it. Everything's a bonus in my life. Start with your expectations there. Everything that happens. If Ned walks in and says something dead clever, I'm like, yes, the day's gonna be good because my expectations are down there.
But you never drive anything for success then, because you're under promise and over deliver.
That's the way. I think that's the best way.
Anyone who under promises with a plan to over deliver never actually gets to do the very best they could.
Well, you say that.
Let's see what Tony thinks.
Believe. We've got another caller.
I just disappoint people every day.
Just turn your headphones off.
Let Tony through because I can hear him. Yeah.
Go on, get Tony on.
Hi, Tony.
Hey, it's Tony.
Hi there.
Go on,
Can
Tony.
you hear me?
We can, yeah.
Go on.
Tony from Chattanooga.
Oh, Chattanooga.
Woo-woo.
That's that's just a good word to say, isn't it? Chattanooga.
You guys pronounce it so much better than Americans do.
Yeah, that's Americans for you, though, isn't it?
Chattanooga.
Americans probably tried to destroy it or something. That's why. That's probably why they can't say it.
Supposedly it's like an old Cherokee Nation word.
They definitely tried to destroy it then. Go on, Tony. I'm watching a lot. I've just watched 1883 and I'm watching 1923 and then I'm going to restart Yellowstone again. I'm doing a lot of that at the moment, doing a lot of cowboy stuff. There's a lot of trying to get rid of Native Americans.
So you've gone from silo to cowboy stuff.
Yeah, I've got loads on the go. Anyway, I've got Secret Invasion, I've got Hijack, I've always got stuff on the go.
If there's anyone out there thinking of launching a streaming service, Ped will buy it.
I will buy it. Go on, Tony. What are you? Go on.
I wanted to talk about this Dele Alli signing. Do you think was Bill the one who put that together?
John.
Because that was in January. I think Marcel Brands was gone by that point.
I mean, the commercial side of it, even if Brands had been around, Bill probably would have done it, yeah.
I mean, Bill, he is such a sucker. This guy, him and Mashiri, if these guys walked into a poker hall, everybody want them sitting at their table. There's a saying in poker, if you're sitting at a table for an hour and you haven't figured out who the sucker is, you're the sucker. And I think these guys have a reputation in the industry for just making bad trades.
I think you're wrong. Yeah. Ooh. To be honest, I don't think Moshiri has any reputation in the industry for doing trades. Yeah, and I think Kenwright is probably respected as being quite a hard-nosed negotiator. But the poker analogy is you can only play the cards you've got, can't you? That's not a defence of him, by the way, because he's had a load of ricks in his life. But I think the player one, if you talk about Delhi, I mean, he hasn't cost us anything yet. Obviously, we've paid his wages. And we have a deal that says we don't pay any transfer fee until he's played a certain amount of games, and managers only pick players if they think they're going to make a difference. So,
do you think that was a package deal, or you think it was a trade with Richarlison leaving at the last day of the season, that he sat down with Tottenham and said, "Hey, we'll take Dele Alli now"?
No, I don't think Kenwright I was going to say or Moshiri, but sadly I think Moshiri's not quite Abramovich and wants his favourite players to be picked, but he probably does influence players he thinks are good. Now, I think the manager in the moment probably thought he could get that latent talent out of him. I don't think anyone, until they saw the interview he did a few weeks back, had any real understanding about why he was not able to perform. And I think Jose did him some damage when he was at Tottenham.
Tony, just come on. What's your main issue?
Yeah. Let's get to the
the meat of this. What's your issue with the Dele Alli situation?
Okay, well, I'll put it in NFL terms for you. There's an NFL combine, right? You go to the combine, you graduate college, you get invited to the combine.
Yeah.
They give you a long psychological test. They give you intellectual tests. They're trying to see if you're emotionally stable. They want to kind of find out about your background. They're checking into everything on you, so they don't waste a pick on you. And Aaron Hernandez, who was the Patriots tight end, he played for Florida. He was going to be seated like first round pick.
Yeah, I know.
He did so bad on the test. He came in the 6th round.
Yeah.
So they got him for next to nothing, and then he wound up shooting 2 people.
Yeah. Killed himself in prison.
Yeah, so my point is, nobody knew that Dele Alli had some personal problems coming into that, after 3 years of poor performance, because I think there was rumors around the industry, hey, this guy's got some issues. And that's the point I'm making. Did they really do their homework on him? To find out.
I think they probably did, but not to the level that you've just said. What you just described, they do in the NFL. I very much doubt anything close to that happens in this country, particularly in football.
I think what you're talking about there is you're talking about NFL in terms of they have the pick, don't they? Let's be honest. It's the NFL. It's the only league in the world that plays, American football. So they have the pick of the players. They have to go over everyone with a fine-tooth comb. Or also, it's a situation where it's one league, whereas football it's not at that point yet. I think that's actually what's happened with the Delhi situation. Is it has started those conversations of what should be going on in football, because football is such an open sport and you can come from anywhere and play anywhere, and there's leagues all around the world. A lot of this stuff just goes under the radar because, like we're talking about Everton, football clubs just can't be picky. They will. You are honestly, right. There's players out there who will have major gambling habits. They will have alcohol habits. They will have substance abuse. There'll be stuff that have gone on in their personal life, and football clubs will know about it and they will not care
because if they perform on the grass,
if they're good footballers, everyone is willing to overlook it. Look at that. Look at the Ivan Toney situation. There's 2 ways to look at that. That's a guy who you can feel sorry for having a gambling addiction, or you can go, oh, he's got too much money. It's whichever way you see things. Football is just didn't look after him, and now he's got a ban.
But his football team, to support your view, knew that he was guilty because he pleaded guilty, and they continued to play him. Right.
And I think that's the difference, though. I think that's the way it is, mate. Honestly, I don't think we just don't have because I do agree with whatever you're saying, these things. And actually, we spoke about this last week or a couple of weeks ago. John hinted that maybe Everton should go back and renegotiate the deal, because actually we have been sold a player that isn't what we paid for in terms of where he is mentally. So therefore, there should be room to go, hang on, you sold us a guy that really we have made to get the best out of. So why should we pay you £20 million? Because this player, and certainly the games he did play, he wasn't in the right mental frame. So it is an issue within football. I completely agree with you, mate. You're absolutely right. I don't put that on the player. The player's gone through some horrendous things, but it is an issue. Listen, you're talking about a sport that is only just in the last couple of years taken and still doesn't concussions and stuff seriously. You're talking about a sport that will honestly will overlook all kinds to get a player on the football pitch. It's honestly, everyone just wants a pound of flesh out of these players. And I know that does happen in other sports as well. But the market at the moment is just people are so desperate that they will overlook all of these things and then ask questions afterwards. And sadly, that's where we are.
Yeah. Do you think Tottenham knew that he had, maybe some drug abuse issues, some personal issues? And then went to the, negotiating table knowing that this guy had issues and didn't tell Everton? It's
really hard to say that, isn't it? But what we do know is, though, that they did also factor in things so I think rather than use things that we don't know about, there is some evidence to suggest that things were taken out of context. So the situation with where Delhi said about the Tottenham Hotspur documentary where Mourinho called them lazy. And that stuck, and yet Delhi said, well, actually, the week after he apologised.
But they never showed that.
And they never showed it. And that does stick. And that is something Tottenham had an opportunity to say, this player isn't what you all think. This actually is a good person and you need to cut him a bit of slack. So there are things like that. The other stuff, listen, what goes on? This sleeping tablet stuff, footballers are now saying, oh, it's rife. Well, why?
They all know.
Why aren't they talking about it then? Why isn't? And they're all going, oh yeah, this stuff goes on all the time. This is fun. And I'm sure it goes on in other sports. I'm sure it does. But the problem is again, it's a dog-eat-dog world. Why would Spurs tell us any of that stuff?
They wouldn't.
All that's going to do is hamper the deal. It's not like the NFL in terms of when you made a trade in NFL or any other American sports. There's an overarching, obviously, sports. Govern.
It's like a centralized process.
Exactly. In football, no one cares. No one cares. They just don't care. That's a simple fact, mate. Football clubs don't care. They do not care what is happening. They'll send all their, I'm really sorry to. They don't care. They are delighted if your centre forward's broke his leg the week before they play you. They do. This is football. It's not right, and it shouldn't creep into this world of people having real problems. But football club, if you've got a problem and we can sell you, and we don't tell the team that you are selling them to because it might stop the deal, they ain't telling you, and that is football, and it's not nice. And we do it as a football club, I'd imagine, as well. It is dog eat dog.
And one of the things that Delhi, when he did the interview with Gary Neville, perhaps made it really quite brave for him, is not for the public side of it, because all those people close to him who he spent a number of years lying to, now know that he was lying to them. Closest members of his family, his adopted family, his brother, who's his agent, for crying out loud. And none of them knew the truth, because when they confronted him, when they saw the symptoms, he clearly and very credibly convinced them. So in many respects, a lot of the behaviours, we now have a clue as to why he's behaving like that. But it just looked, as he said himself in the interview, as I'm just a playboy party animal who does the wrong things, and people see I'm off the rails because I've got too much money and all this sort of stuff. But let me just tell you why. And then he just opened his heart out to Gary Neville.
There's also a culture of that in this country where we have a lot of footballers come from working class backgrounds. They get a little bit of money, and the minute they get a little bit of money, seen it recently, didn't he, with Jack Grealish? The minute they get a little bit of money and a little bit of success and celebrate it, people start trying to chastise them and go, what are you doing, having a drink or going out or celebrating? And we have a society, certainly UK, that tries to It's different in America or North America, sorry, where if you do well, people put you on people love you for it, and they love a
pedestal, don't they?
They love a rags to riches, or they love or someone who gets dragged down and gets back up. In this country, the minute you've made it, people just want to destroy you because it's a story for them, especially the media in this country. The tabloids, they just want to destroy people. So this is just another person. So for a lot of people, they'll have gone, Dele Alli, young lad, got money, goes out partying and all that. Let's buy a story off one of his so-called friends. And you don't get the story of, why should I feel sorry for this? You go, look at him squandering all that money, ruining his career. And that's the culture we have in this country, sadly. No one wants to feel sorry for anyone. It started years ago. Stan Collymore came out as being depressed, and he went to Villa. He was at Villa, and his manager just basically turned around and said, "What have you got? Anything to be depressed
Pull
by?
yourself together."
Yeah, this was his own manager. This was his own manager, though. Like on an interview, going, "What's he got to be?" And Stan Collymore was, whether you like Stan Collymore or don't like Stan, he was suffering, and he says it now. He was suffering from real depression. Listen, before we knew all the stuff we know about mental health now, and his own manager said, "What's he got to feel sorry for?" And that is the narrative we have in this country. Get yourself together, get to work, and if you're not doing it, we'll just sell you to someone else. And that, sadly, that's what it. But with something like Dele and other players, hopefully that starts changing for the better. Did Tottenham know about it? I imagine they might have known something.
They knew enough not to want to keep him at their club.
Exactly. And there you go. They knew enough to try and get rid of him on a deal that, Everton would be happy to take, and we did, and maybe now Everton have to revisit that.
Yeah, but even if you don't even think about him as a person, you just look at him as his contract and as an asset and as a player, you think he would try to put a little bit more effort into getting his head straight, where you maybe force him to do something, or you threaten him to do whatever, bench him for the rest of his contract or whatever until he gets off his ass and turns his life around.
But the problem is, though, some people don't want help, do they? Some people have got no interest in help. They're so self-destructive, and they've got all these issues that they just don't care. I mean, Dele clearly just didn't care, did he? He didn't care.
There will have been moments for Dele during his time at Everton, perhaps when he was moving to Everton, then when he went out on loan and so on, when perhaps he was in his own mind quite lucid and thought, right, this is a new start. I'll go abroad. I'll get my act together, and then I'll come back. And then you go through the peaks and troughs of the challenges he's had for many a long year. And part of the way of addressing that is fundamentally getting out of denial, isn't it? And part of that is telling everybody, and that was the brave thing. All the recovery schemes for everything, be it alcohol, drugs, or whatever, you have to confront the ills and the bad things you've done in the past, and often that includes going and apologising to the people you let down or lied to or whatever. And then you can start looking forward, because there's nothing to hide no more, because you've shared it all. Yeah. And rehabilitation for him might very well come on a football field, because he seems he seems to think that he feels more enthusiastic now than he has for many a long year. And as as a previous caller said, if he gets anywhere near what he was, anywhere near, then that deal will look a hell of a lot better than perhaps it looks now.
Let me just say as well, before we carry on, we've got we've got an interview with an ex-Everton player coming up.
Michael,
who explains all this in his terms. Honestly, we've got to play.
You've got to watch it, guys.
Honestly, it's coming up in the next week, where it'll be on Premier this week, where an ex-Everton player basically said he wanted to retire in his early 20s because he was just sick of it, hated the pressure, hated what it was doing to his life. And basically, this is a kid who just went under the radar because he never reached Dele's level, and no one cares. No one cares that he ended up going to prison. Because the simple fact is, because he wasn't, no one cared, and this was before all this. And I think once you sort of see that interview as well, you'll understand a little bit more as well of how footballers are churned out, and how no one really at football clubs. Certainly then there wasn't anything for them. They didn't have anyone to back them up. So that's definitely worth checking out when it comes out to get a better understanding.
Well, I think Everton's a good home for him. I think the fans will support him and stick behind him in the organization. So Hopefully, he can turn it around.
Hopefully, Tony.
Hopefully.
Anyway, cheers,
really
Tony. Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
And I love saying chat. Yeah, see you later, mate.
Chattanooga.
See you later, mate.
Choo-choo.
Bye.
Bye. Right.
Bye.
I think that is time for us to go. 6:30. We've done plenty. Yes, 6:30. We've done. I'm just gonna hide a user who's a Liverpool fan in the comments who thinks he's brilliant. Why would you waste time coming on an Everton channel, you weirdo? There you go. Big thank you for everybody. Listen, I've seen a couple of people in the comments going, I want to call in, but why didn't you just call in then? Don't complain. Just call. You don't have to click a button. The reason Americans come on is because they love chatting about Everton, and it's brilliant to hear them. If you want to come on and have your point of view, then you just click the button. Unfortunately, it's too late to do that because we're going now. So big thanks for everyone. We'll be back tomorrow at 1:00. Make sure, if you want to join Toffee TV Premier, by the way, the link is in the description. So make sure.
You need that to see that documentary, don't you? That interview with the player you just mentioned.
Well, the documentary also from last season will be coming out soon as well because it's in the process of being edited right now. So, and that'll be on Toffee TV Premier as well. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, it is a dog world. See you later.